everyone, my name's Kelvin and welcome back to another watercolor tutorial for Procreate. So in this video I'm going to show you how to print a 5x7 folding card, and I'm going to include some download links for this free template that I made for you. And obviously you might be using letter paper or you might be using A4 paper, so there's going to be two links in the description. So depending on what kind of paper you usually print on, you can choose one of those options. Now, since I'm using A4 paper, I've downloaded the A4 version of this 5x7 template, and here's what it looks like when you open it up in Procreate. And all this basically is the outer boundary of the canvas. That is your A4 paper, and then relative to the A4 size, this is what a 5x7 folding card looks like. And there's the center line. And the reason it has this shadow look to it is because I want to sort of simulate what it might look like after you print it out. And I personally find that this really helps me kind of visualize the end product. Now, if we open the layers panel, you can see there's two layers here, two locked layers. And one of them is called preview guides and the other is called cutting guides. So by default, you're going to see the preview guide is switched on. But obviously, if you're printing this out, you don't need to print out the shadow. I mean, I don't recommend it. I actually recommend turning that off and turning on the cutting guides. And that will give you these very, very subtle crop marks that won't impinge on the artwork or the card, but it will still let you cut this out accurately. And I'll show you how I do that later on in this video. So for now, I want to show you how to place in some artwork and design a card here. So I'm going to turn off the cutting guide and turn on the preview guide because I just think the shadow helps me kind of lay this out. And I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to place it on the very, very top of the layers panel. And I'm going to go to Add, Insert a Photo, and I'm going to insert a previous artwork that I already painted. Now, after you've placed it in there, the first thing you should do is go to the Layers panel again and change the opacity mode of the placed image to multiply. And the reason I do that is because before you couldn't see the guides, but when I changed it to multiply, you can now see that the shadows and the guides are sort of coming through the image. Now, if I sort of look at those guides and I move the image around, the artwork here, I can sort of imagine what the final card might look like, and I'll just try to line it up in a way that sort of suits what I want. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Now, the artwork is flowing onto the backside. So obviously, if this is a card, it's going to fold like this. So that's the backside and that's the front. And I don't want it to print over on the back. I mean, you might for your project. That might be a cool look. But in this case, I don't. So I'm going to cut the image, and I'm going to do that with the selection tool set to rectangle. And if I just click and drag, I can create a selection box that just lines up with the very center line of this card. And now I've selected that portion. I can go to the layers panel now, and as long as that's still selected, I can tap on this layer and click clear, and it will only clear what I've selected. But for these other edges, these outside ones, since I'm going to cut it with a knife, the selection doesn't have to end exactly there. It's okay if it sort of extends beyond. For example, I'm going to make another selection, and instead of cutting it perfectly on the line, I'm just going to set it back, maybe just a few millimeters, and I'll do the same thing, clear it like that. And I'm going to go ahead and do it to the other sides as well. There we go. So I'm happy with the placement of my artwork, and I've gone ahead and cut off the excess artwork that goes over the edge of the 5x7 card. And now I want to prepare this file for printing. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to turn off the preview guides and turn on the cutting guides. And obviously the reason I do that is I don't want all those shadows to print in the final result. I just want to use these crop marks to cut and fold the final result. And I'm going to go ahead and send this to my printer. Now, after it's printed out, it looks like this. And I'm not going to cut it out yet. I'm actually going to fold it in half first. And the reason I do that is because sometimes when you fold the paper, it's not folded exactly perfect. And then if you cut it before you fold it, then the corners don't line up. So I'm just going to fold it first, and then I'm going to cut it out, basically basing everything off the front. So I'm cutting through two layers of paper like this. And here's what the final result looks like. I think this is a really handy template. I use it all the time. And again, I put links to these free templates in the description below. There's just two options because it depends on whether you're using letter size paper or A4. So that pretty much wraps it up. As always, thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give this video a like. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.